Hi gyms guys, and welcome back again. Jeff Fleming here, and particularly for those at our recent workshop, but more for those that perhaps were at the previous workshops and are using and watching this video as an opportunity just to catch up. And I guess the other one is for those that haven't been into any of the workshops and maybe you've watched two of the previous. We talked about in our first workshop about structuring a business. Number 2 was about structuring a marketing. And this one's about, I'd call it Teflon customer service, friction-free customer service. So let's go. So why friction-free customer service? When you're skating, think about what happens when you stop skating, and you're leaning forward typically. For those that know how to skate, I'm not one of them. I've done a little bit of skating, but what happens is you just keep moving. Now, it won't move forever. I know it needs the occasional push, but the purpose in setting up a customer service system in your gym's business is to have something that just continues to roll along, and all it needs is once you get moving, just needs a gentle nudge every now and then. And what it's doing for you, it's helping you increase not only new clients, but also bring in more business from your current clients as well. And over time, we want it to be as effortless as possible, and most importantly, as enjoyable as well. So great customer service is really about building your future. It's about having very consistent customers for life. Now, there are some good clients over time that for different reasons you're obviously going to lose, and there's things about that you can't control. But within what you can control, it's about creating something that makes your business a lot more than just transactional. What do I mean by transactional? I mean, by transactional, what I'm saying is a transactional business is one where you're mowing and then moving on, then mowing, then moving on, then mowing and moving on. Then what happens over a period of time is you're maybe scrambling for new clients, particularly in winter, and waiting for leads through the gym system or through hopefully through referrals, for the sake of having a customer service system that'll keep the business flowing to you. So this is really about building the future. And like in any business, it's really hard when you've got just a transactional business to put your prices up, and it makes it much easier to lose clients. So move well beyond a transactional business, have a great customer service system. So in review, and for those at the recent workshops, we talked about a number of people that from our marketing sessions that actually tried full frontal. And if you've watched the marketing session, the marketing workshop, you'll know what I mean. But full frontal actually works. It can be a bit confronting, but it actually does work. And there are others that just got on the phone and even got results by just getting on the phone. And in one particular case, someone had set up a database and was emailing out to that database, and voila, would you know, and these for past clients, just reintroducing himself, and voila, was getting some new client opportunities out of that database. So imagine just having a system like that happened, that went every month, and before you know it, you're getting calls and emails from people to say, can you give me a quote, can you do this? It's about as simple as that. So if you think about some of those marketing opportunities for things that have worked well in the past, maybe you've done something that for you was a bit hard. And today I'm going to talk about some ways around building a customer service system that for you it's going to be easy. It'll never be completely easy, but certainly easier. Maybe you've tried some things and they were just too hard, or maybe you've tried some things that worked well, but you just weren't persistent with it. So let's talk about ways of making it easy today, but also something that you can set up that's going to be consistent. Building a customer service system is all about communicating. And I don't mean necessarily talking to your clients every week, but it's really about having a way that somehow you can communicate with them either by voice or by email or by leaving a note. And we talked about in our marketing system about the notes you can leave with your customers after you've attended to their place. But are ways of communicating. It won't happen by accident. It won't happen by osmosis or ESP or anything else ridiculous. Great customer service is about building a future, but it's about communicating with them in a way that has it more than just you having a transactional relationship. And we all have got suppliers with which we have transactional relationships with, and it's not a healthy way to run a business. So communicating is the best way to implement, maintain good customer relationships, and we'll talk about that during the workshop as to how to do that. Remember, we talked about in our previous workshops about our C and D clients, the ones that have that curious odor, and it may not be a physical odor, but it's just about dealing with them that makes it unpleasant. No amount of extra customer service is ever going to make the difference, so just don't worry about it. You won't be able to create a system that's going to work for everyone, but you'll be able to create a system and maintain a system that's going to work really well with your A customers. And from some of the A customers you've already got, and everyone's got them, you'll already know how easy it is to work with them, and you also know that they've got opportunities that we can help them with that we haven't quite asked the question about how we can help. So again, my role is to help. Like in the marketing workshops, anything I can assist with after this session, I'll give you my email address and my mobile number. Call me and let me know how I can best help. But again, change only happens when you take some action. You have to do something. And like in our previous workshop, we had a number of people that have just stepped up and done something different, and it was already producing results. So it's not that hard, but it does require you to step up a little bit. So if you think about it for a second, just think about, and feel free to stop this recording. You can always start it again. As what are some of the essential elements of a good customer service system, albeit in a gym's business or any business? Think about clients you work with that provide, or not clients, think about suppliers you work with that provide really good service. What are the elements of that, and what are the things that you can duplicate? I'm not talking about being a frontline salesperson, but just a way you can do simple things that have customers going, you know what, I need to deal a lot more with this person. And they might not ever say that, but they'll know when they talk to someone else, they'll think of you because of the way that you're helping them around, looking after their place. So take a minute to think about what are some of the elements of good customer service, then we can keep moving. All right, team, let's keep this moving along. You remember this slide from our marketing workshop? And the big part of marketing is simply just change the way you think. If you're only thinking mowing, then that's typically what you're going to be getting, is just mowing jobs. But if while you're out there on the job, you're thinking, how can I help, or how else can I help? So whilst you're on the job and delivering quality service, what else can you do? There are 4 components of marketing that just changes the way you think about what you're doing when you're out on the job. Number 1 is, who can you help? Who can you help? So if you're with a client, you're saying, okay, who else is there around that I can help? The second one, it's number 1. Number 2 is, how can I help? Well, what can I do for these particular people? And you drive past people, places, you can see them. I think they're very obvious. Number 3 is, what other services can you help with? You're in doing someone's lawn, or you're trimming or pruning or doing something. You can see the opportunities. What other services can you help with? All right. And the 4th one is, for your current A's, who else do they know? So number 1, who can you help? Number 2, how? Number 3, what other services can you help with? And number 4 is, who else do they know? 2 fundamental parts of building an awesome customer service system. Neither are complex, but both are very necessary. Number 1 is, doing a great job is obviously the baseline. You have to do a great job, otherwise you're not in business, fundamentally. But apart from that, it's all about relationships, everything about selling, everything about customer service, more so than ever these days, because there's a lot of competition around, is about building relationships. Without building this, it's very hard to uprate. Because people just don't see any value in paying more, because they don't know you. Okay, you have no relationship with them. So when I'm talking about relationship, I'm not talking about sending Christmas cards or going to parties with them or going to the football. You may have some clients that you go to the football with. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking having a simple relationship, as when they get your invoice, they're happy to pay it straight away. When you talk about providing extra service and or you're going to uprate, they can think about you in a way that says, why wouldn't I do this? Because look at the awesome stuff that I'm already getting, and what they're knowing in the back of their mind is, I've got a good relationship with this person, I want to continue long term. Okay, so it reminds me when we were away in overseas recently, one of the local markets, for anyone that's been to Asia and you've been to local markets where everyone's trying to get you to buy something, there was a particular stall, and the guy in the stall, he just was really good at just talking to people, saying hi to people. An interesting thing, this particular stall, they really didn't do too much in the way of discounts. Their prices were not a lot different, but they never talked discounts. They spent a lot of time building relationships. And the interesting thing at this stall, he had a queue of people, and for the times we were there, we walked past, 3 or 4 or 5 times, he had a regular supply of people because he was good at engaging and just really simply building a relationship. So number 1 is building a relationship. Number 2, it's called the law of reciprocity. If you look at any research around marketing, read any books on marketing, and the law of reciprocity, okay, what am I trying to say, is really important. There was another word I was trying to think of, but it reigns supreme. That's what I was trying to say. Reigns supreme in a way of helping you to get other people to give you business or additional business. What does reciprocity mean? Reciprocity means I give something, I get something back. And there's a great networking group I'm not long a part of, but one of the fundamental tenets is givers gain. Givers gain. All right, you would have heard that from your parents or anyone else, that as we give, then we receive. This works so well in marketing. Now, the example I'm using here is with the Hare Krishnas, and this comes from a book by called Robert Cialdini, and the book's called Influence, and he talks about ways of marketing in a way that gets people to give you more. And what happened was the Hare Krishnas got really good, and I don't see too many, if any, Hare Krishnas around these days. I used to see a lot when I was a kid. But the Hare Krishnas, what they do is they would set up on corners and clap and play drums and do stuff, and hopefully get you to give a donation to their particular cause. Now, what they did in the USA is they turned it up a notch, and what they were doing was they would base themselves in fairly high traffic volume areas. I don't mean, traffic as in cars, but traffic as in people, like in railway stations where there were lots of people coming and going. What they would then do is they would give everyone a little tiny, almost like a little plastic flower, like a little flower. So you get a little flower. And then what happened is, naturally, not everyone, it's not going to work for everyone, but by and large, what happened was people would feel compelled to contribute or give a donation, even though it was, let's say it's $1 or $2. And what they found that their donations had gone up by something like 400%. But not only that, you got a little plastic flower and you gave a donation, you walked away. What are you going to do with the flower? Well, the next thing you do is you drop it in a little bin. So what the Hare Krishnas would do is they would go around to all the bins every hour or so and collect all the little tiny flowers and recycle them. So not only did they have a great supply of very cheap, raw materials in the little flowers, they would actually recycle them. So for them, and I think it worked so well that at a period of time they got banned or something. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but the law of reciprocity in a little plastic flower for them worked awesomely well. So you'll find, and we'll talk about ways of reciprocating when we get into the how-tos in the workshop. But reciprocity is a very powerful tool, and it's easy to implement. So number 1 is relationship. Number 2 is reciprocity. Okay? Number 3 is customers need to know that they're in very good hands. So having a purely transactional business won't necessarily help with this, but at the end of the day, you're at their place, they may or may not be home. Having a good relationship with their customers will help them see real value in everything you can assist with. You've got a relationship with them, you're helping them out, you're providing reciprocal services. We'll talk about that in a little while. They'll see value in everything you can do and everything that you can assist with. Does that make sense? If customers know they're in good hands, uprating, providing extra service, even asking for referrals as part of your customer service system is just easy. Number 4 is one of the key challenges in running a business like yours, is during the week no one's home. And so you can think about the number of customers, and I think in the last workshop we did, I think there was more situations where customers weren't home than were home. So in building a relationship, you could let yourself off the hook, pardon me, you could let yourself off the hook by saying, well, there's no one home, I'm not able to do it. But letting yourself off the hook is going to help you to have a transactional short-term business. Long-term business means I'm going to build a relationship regardless. So how could you do that? We'll talk about those in a little while. How can you still build a relationship? Number 5, has anyone experienced, particular times a year, there's lots of grass, you're busy, you're jumping from job to job, okay? And so you finish the job, you back your trailer up, you get your gear in there, you brush it down and you race off, okay? A way to build a relationship, again, with those that are home is take a couple of minutes just to check in, and we'll talk about that in a little while. If you had 5 minutes, okay, with every customer that was home about doing it, how much value would this lend in having these people as lifetime customers, just for the sake of 5 minutes? And again, in our workshop, when we get into a how-to, we'll talk about ways of doing the same thing and spending 5 minutes even if they're not home. I used to be in the Scouts when I was a kid, and my kids think that was a bit weird, but I really enjoyed it. And because we did a bit of travelling, my father was in the Air Force, so I was in the Scouts overseas, and we did lots of trips and lots of heading out and camping and setting up campsites in all sorts of weird, wonderful places, and it was really enjoyable. Again, one of the fundamental tenets of Boy Scouts is, how can we help? And there was a thing we used to have when I was a kid that used to have this little coin, and this little coin you'd have in your left pocket, and when you they talk about doing good deeds for other people. And when you do a good deed, you transfer it. So as weird as my kids think Boy Scouts is, they had some, some fairly good values. But, how that relates to your business is, how can you help? If you sat down and made a list right now of what 5 ways you could help over and above your current A customers, okay, and you applied them fairly consistently, ask yourself the question, what difference would it make if I had a plan and it was simple to do and I was doing it with my A customers? What difference is it going to make? So spend a couple of minutes. Welcome to turn the recording off. Okay, what 5 ways can you make a difference in terms of customer service? Very simple ways that you can make a difference. Think about what's worked for you in the past, and maybe it's worked but you haven't done it consistently, or maybe there's something that you've tried to do and just hasn't worked out that well. Okay, let's move on. Let's now get into some of the how-tos. Let's look at the 5 how-tos about having just a simple customer service system that helps you get lifetime value from your A customers, keep building A customers, but not only that, be able to make the sort of money that you want to make and enjoy the business that you're already in and just get a lot more lifestyle from it as well. Number 1, keep it simple. When you're in front of your A's, and I know that you're not always in front of your A's, simple questions. And again, I'm going to read these out. If you want a copy, let me know and I'll send you a copy of these questions. Absolutely no problems at all. So what are the 5 questions that you could ask? An example is you've mowed. How do you think the place is looking? Really simple stuff. How's it looking? How would you like the place to look? And that's probably a question that you might ask when you're with like a new A customer. How would you like the place to look? Number 3 is, are you thinking of changing anything or planting anything different? And this is one we did lots and lots of workshops with retail nurseries. And retail nurseries would have customers in buying something, like they'd buy a hose bit or a hose or a pot or, the sort of stuff that they sell in retail nurseries these days. And the question was, is this for something you're doing at the moment? Or if they're buying a plant, are you thinking about redoing your garden? And that opens a conversation about most of the retail nurseries I work with provided a range of services, including some simple ideas or landscaping or suggestions. It just opens, an opportunity to talk about how else you can help. So number 3 question, I got off track. Are you thinking of changing anything or planting anything different? Number 4 is, have you recently fertilized? And again, opportunities in there, how you can help. Or do you need some help with trimming or pruning? Okay, so 5 questions. Number 1, how do you think the place is looking? Number 2, how would you like the place to look? Number 3 is, are you thinking of changing anything or planting anything, or thinking about having some landscape gardening done? Maybe that's a tough question, but are you thinking of changing anything? Number 4 is, have you recently fertilized? And you'll know because you're there. Number 5 is, do you need some help with trimming or gardening? How could you ask them? Think about the ways that you could do it. You can do it face to face, but how else could you ask them? That's number 1. Number 2, after hours, don't let yourself off the hook. Remember, you've left and they're not there, so you said, well, you know what? I would have loved to ask them, but they weren't home, so I'll keep moving. That's letting yourself off the hook. That's building a transactional business. Call them. Ask them the same 5 questions. In our marketing workshop, we call that full frontal versus softly. So you think about it, how many tradespeople have you ever had working for you that have followed up or asked you a question? And you can guarantee with your customers they've had very few. So you just do something a bit different. Ring them and ask them the question, is everything okay after the mow today? And apart from that, the same questions. Is there anything you're thinking about changing? Have you recently fertilized? Simple, easy questions. And, you set us off your side the time. And I remember this in our previous workshop in marketing. One of the guys that was there talked about, I think they started ringing at about 6:30 and they rang 5 clients and got some really good responses. So you might have to get the time sorted out, and if you watch our marketing workshop, we'll talk about that. But pick a time, but ask those questions, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the responses you get, particularly with your A customers. Forget it with your C's and D's. Number 3, our mowing guy, who we've had now, I reckon, for 25 years. And whilst he doesn't do everything, I get another Jim's guy in to do our stuff, like when we have to have our trees. There's a guy in, his name's Jim too. He comes in and trims our trees. But our mowing guy, Steve, used to always, and still does, he gets these little bags of this stinky stuff. It's like a fish stuff, these little tiny sachets, and what you do is, or a sachet, he just get you can just tear the top off and tip it into a watering can. He says, put this on that. Or he makes these, rather crude suggestions about what we should be doing with our lemon tree because it's not looking very well. Or one of our lemon trees, we've got a couple, has got that, and you guys would know what it is. It's got that illness, and some of the branches have got a swelling in them, and I don't know what that's called. But he's made some suggestions about how that could be trimmed, and he leaves a note that says something like, get some, chook poo, what do you call that? Dynamic lifter on the front lawn. Just simple stuff. What it does is, it says we're getting so much value, and I know that Steve recently put his prices up. I can't tell you what he charges, and it doesn't really matter, okay, because he just gives a lot of value. He's a friend of ours. The dog loves him. That helps. But more importantly, he just does little things, okay, in the way of leaving stuff. Now, you might have an opportunity to get, things from suppliers. You may or may not be able to do it. And I don't know where Steve gets his little bags. I think they're probably freebies he gets somewhere. And, you tip one into a watering can, it doesn't go very far. But you know what? It doesn't really matter. They say about gifts, it's the thought that counts. It's just the way that he's thinking about these stuff and leaving stuff. And, he's a pretty simple kind of guy. But there's absolutely no way Steve's going anywhere unless he decides to, because A, he's a friend, B, the dog loves him, C, does a fantastic job, and E, is he just, there's things that he does for us around leaving us ways to have our place looking good, because at the end of the day, we are really crap with gardens, and it's just great to have Steve doing that. I would imagine you've probably got a lot of clients that are also really crap at gardens, but love the way that you do what you do. Number 4. Do something different. It's about leaving an impression. Do something extra, okay? But it's got to be something that's noticeable. One of the things we used to have a while back was we had a vacant block next door. It's no longer vacant. And of course, being a vacant block, it had a really long nature strip. And it just used to look really crappy because our place was always pretty well kept by Steve, not by me. And what Steve would do, Steve mowed half of the nature strip. How long did it take him? How long do you reckon it would take? It's not a big nature strip, maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes. But he'd mentioned that he'll do it so it doesn't make our place look crap. And it was just simple, something simple. So what could you do? You could tidy up something, but point out that you've tidied up. Okay, you could leave a note, okay, to say that you've seen this. It might be something that needs maintaining, something that needs attending to. And I'm sure you see them. All right, so point out something that they could do better, or mention about something that's needing of maintenance. But it's just doing something that'll take you no time, that particular A customers will see real value. And number 5 is, and this is the same for our marketing system, it's more about a note. And I know in our recent workshop we talked about a little template, and someone was going to get some of these printed. And if you watch the marketing workshop, you'll see what I mean. But this is also a great system when you see something needs to be done, or see something extra that needs to be done, or you see something needs to be attended to. It may not be attended by you. It might be something that needs to be fixed, like a gate or something. Okay, this is a great example. Okay, particularly if you're going to be away for a couple of weeks. And Steve's always done this, because Steve says, I'm going to be away for a month. He said, I'll be back, at this particular time. And I can organise my mate to come and do the lawn while I'm away. Well, I think that's fantastic, and we normally don't. We just let it go, and and particularly around this time of year, after a week or two, it's starting to look pretty long. But it's just a simple way that Steve will leave a note just to say, I'm not going to be here. Let me know how I can help while I'm away, and I'm all over it when I get back. Okay? Does that make sense? So let's do a quick review on these here. Number 1 is simple, easy questions about, how the place is looking, how else you'd like it to look, if you're thinking of changing something. Have they recently fertilised? Is there something that needs trimming or pruning? Simple, easy questions. Number 2, if they're not home, don't let yourself off the hook. You can contact them and ask some easy, simple questions. And even if you had, did this twice a week and made 3 phone calls to A customers, assuming you do that many A customers in a week, and I'm sure you do, what difference would it make? Just something as simple, and they know you. You can talk to them. They can talk to you. Just 2 or 3 simple questions. Have them written down in front of you. Do it for 2 weeks, and I'd be very keen to hear that it made no difference at all. Number 3, leave something. Okay, whether it be a little sample of something or just a suggestion about something. Just leave something that makes customers see more value in dealing with you. And we all know what happens is when you leave something, and the example I talked about in the recent workshop is that we had fences done about 5 years ago, or 6 or whatever it was years ago. And the guys who did the fence job, they had their empty bags of concrete. They shoved it down the back of the shed. Well, they left something which has had me mention what I just said many, many, many times, and I'll never refer them. So you know the value when you leave something that people don't want. So leave something that people do want. Number 4, do something a bit different. Okay, tidy up something, mention about something that needs maintenance, but make sure that you tell them, you let them know you've done it, your customers. Number 5 is, again, notes, printed notes. And the printed note at the top can say something like, you can have these printed, I noticed that, or can I help with this? All right, just a great little system. If they're not home, and if you're struggling with phone calls, you'll get a better hit rate. I have seen consistently, and if you ring them. But if that is a real struggle, I really get that. This is another way of doing it, but you've got to do one of them. And like I mentioned, the guy I saw up Bendigo Way, he had these little notepads printed. He had them; the notepad fitted right in his pocket, so it was always there. And he left a simple note with every single customer. All right, so take a minute or two. What's been useful? What's been valuable? What can you implement over and above your marketing system? And how can you use that just to make a simple difference in helping you to build and get lifestyle customers? Get more life, get a better lifestyle by having customers for life. Have them wanting to deal with you, having them, when you leave them a bill, if people see value, they'll pay it straight away. People will feel uncomfortable about not paying you, and our good customers, we pay Steve the next day, if not that day, because he leaves an invoice, we just get it paid. We just get it done. Why? Because it's like you're letting someone down. So the relationship and the way we do what we do has customers thinking about us in a way that gets them to pay their bills quickly, has them thinking about us when someone else is talking about, they need some help with their lawn. And most importantly, if you want to uprate them, there's no problems because they see such value in dealing with you. So it's about moving away from having just a transactional business to have customers for life. So in our previous workshop, we would have now done a full review. What I recommend you do now, if you've watched this and you haven't seen, is go back and watch video number 1, which again, they all go for about 30 minutes. I don't know why, that wasn't the plan. It just seems to have worked out that way. So there's an hour and a half. So spend 30 minutes reviewing the business workshop and take some notes and implement one thing. Number 2, watch the marketing workshop. Spend 30 minutes, get a cup of coffee, drink it slowly, get a cup of tea, and watch it and take some notes and implement one thing. And then if you haven't, you can rewatch this, but use those in conjunction with the customer service. So running a better business, doing some better simple marketing, having a better customer service system. It's all about building a business that gives you more life. It's fun and easy. There's no point doing any of these things if they're painful, because if they're painful, you'll never do them well. You'll never fulfill. But if you're enjoying it and it's a buzz and you've got some easy ways of getting more customers and getting business from more customers, then business should be fun, but it should be serving you. It shouldn't be a burden on you. Last one here. Okay, as you think about what you need to do and where you need to go from here, my email address, jeff@business-transform.com.au. It's there on the screen. Email me. And like everyone that's come from our previous workshops, if you want any help, just reach out and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. There's my mobile number there. Just let me know how I can help. All the best with your future endeavors around your business. Look forward to seeing you at a future workshop, and just let us know how we can best help.